Core Lies.
Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with week 500. I want to say 568. Should be second week of September. Should be 2011 is the year from which we are pulling our films from throughout the week. And I don't know, I was in the mood to revisit some Final Destination, and just so happens number 5 came out in 2011. So there you go. Stephen Quale. I didn't do a hard deep dive on some of these people, but my understanding is he really, leading up to this point, really did not have a lot under his belt. And that's kind of a shame. I revisited it last night, first time in a long time. In fact, I've had the very first film on my mind for a little bit. But you know how that goes. You think about things, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to put it in. But with part 5, I remember, now this is spoilers, so I'm going to just talk as though you've seen this movie a million times, which most of you probably have. But, so fair warning. If you've never seen Destination 5, and you want to before you listen to me ramble on, you've had your fair warning. So here we go. You know, I didn't remember much about it. You know, a lot of these movies sort of blur together. I mean, I kind of forget, maybe with the exception of the opening set sequence. You know, what have we had so far? I mean, we've had, if I can remember them all right, we begin with a plane. We've got the log jam on the highway, which is referenced in this film. The roller coaster, which is referenced in this film. I love the Easter egg stuff. I caught a little bit more of that this time, probably I have before. So you got the roller coaster, the racetrack. Was it like the Indy 500, something like that? I mean, it may not be that grand, but it was a racetrack. Yeah, and that must lead us to 5, the bridge collapse. So, I don't know. I revisited last night and, you know, with an eye on it in the sense of, I'm going to review it. It was all right. I mean, you know, the characters were sort of, there is a few notables in here, though. David Koechner, who plays the paper company, as we would have it. When we opened up the film, a group of characters are from, they either work not as a career, but they have affiliation with this paper company, and the branch manager is, of course, David Koechner plays Dennis. So, I mean, we know him from The Office, right? So, kind of funny, this is a paper company. So, you've got Office vibes all over the place. But the movie doesn't. It would have been interesting if the movie really went off into the dark, comedic territory. It tries to take itself pretty serious. And that sort of is a shame when you got somebody like him, who could offer some really interesting black comedy, I think. Courtney B. Vance is another guy who I think was really underwritten. Somebody of his level of acting chops should have had a lot more to work with, and not just this idea that the survivors from the bridge collapse, Sam being the main target, who has the vision on their bus they're on, who's able to get everyone off before the disaster strikes, is the target of the detective. Courtney B. Vance plays him. I don't think I wrote his name down here, his character name, but the detective. And I mean, seriously, no explosions, no real immediate reason why somebody like this kid, and I know they're not really kids here, but would be responsible for basically this catastrophe. It just seemed a bit absurd, as well as some of the kills seemed just a bit absurd, but I'm not gonna say it wasn't entertaining. had his moments. But I thought he was really underwritten. I thought he could have really brought in interesting. Tony Todd, of course, back again. Maybe a little bit more of an expanded role than we've seen before as Bloodworth, the coroner, we'll call him. So he happens to show up every time, death strikes. In which case he's, blamed or sort of, question why, Sam's like, why are you following us? And it's, well, I don't know, I'm a coroner. So I mean, it's I don't know. So the story really revolves around these characters, a paper company. They're going on a work retreat, building work retreats, building sessions, whatever. How those things go. And on their way there, they got to cross this huge bridge. And so that becomes the catalyst for the rest of the film. A few wrinkles worked in. The one thing I remember most about this film was the ending and the full circleness of the ending. That might be the most enjoyable part of the entire movie for me. Even with the bridge sequence, the bridge sequence was fine. I'm terrified of bridges. I do not like bridges. I do not like driving over bridges, especially though, there's one that goes from to Tybee Island here in Georgia. There's one and that goes over, I think it's into Tybee, and it literally is like this. And then, kind of like that. And so it's kind of like, yeah, no, I found another way around. I'm not driving over that thing. And so with an opening sequence like this, it should have scared the wits out of me, but it really didn't. It just seemed, I don't know, just didn't really work for me. Now, in light of, we have had a disaster not too long ago, actually. Was it Baltimore, Maryland? I want to say that we had that disaster. It's just so much in the news. The 24/7 news cycle, the way it works. Look, a lot of people have already forgotten July 13th by this point, and that's amazing. So with something still that kind of fresh, I thought I might have been more unnerved by it. I really wasn't. But the kills, so once Sam is able to get them off the bus and for the most part off the bridge, it doesn't take long. I think we have, of course, this is the film, if they all blur for you as well, this is the one where we have the death in the gym. We have Buddha, who does not take a liking to the comment that Isaac makes to him. Olivia, and this is the infamous eye surgery scene, and then she steps on that teddy bear eye thing and just loses her balance and somehow manages to just go right through a window and fall out of the building. And even if you came slightly jogging into the room and totally lost your balance and went flinging and tried to catch yourself, I just have a hard time believing you would just go right through the window. But who am I? This is, of course, Dennis gets the wrench right through the head. But maybe the best, and one wrinkle in here, I guess, is one of our survivors ends up buying into this idea. It's one of the wrinkles that if you just kill the next one in line, or you will remove yourself from the equation. And so I'm not sure that was a wrinkle that really could have been written better for the guy who plays Peter, Miles Fisher, sort of a poor man's Tom Cruise, I guess. Really did kind of look like Tom Cruise, and even just the mannerisms, it was kind of weird. But the landing gear and Nathan at the end as sort of a wrap up to the whole thing. I thought it's one of those movies where if you really sit there and think about it, it's kind of like they had the end already mapped out, and then it became the problem of how do we get there. We got a bridge, fine, we'll start the bridge sequence and we know where we want to end. So now how do we get there? And that is the problematic piece of this film. It's getting from a pretty good opening to a really fun ending that just sort of is nostalgic, especially if you're a really huge fan of the first film. But getting there is it's a little tedious. It's a little, I don't know, just doesn't work as well. It's okay. I mean, it's fine. It's entertaining enough. I don't have, except for the opening sequences, 2, 3, 4, that fresh in my mind. One, because I've seen it a million times. So as far as 5 and where it falls, it seems like a fitting end. Now we know a new one is coming right down the corner, so we have that to look forward to. But I mean, we got the writer from the 2011 Thing, Eric Hessier, on for writing. Emma Bell, I've been really more introduced to her via The Walking Dead. I'm reviewing that, about to do season 3 today, actually, and she helps open up The Walking Dead as Andrea's sister. And she's great. I really enjoy seeing her. So I got excited when I saw that she was actually Molly, Sam's other half in this movie, who initially begins with I think we need to break up, to ultimately we see that arc in terms of their relationship seem to come back on track by the end, but obviously that all gets thrown by the wayside as a result of our ending. And by now I'm just gonna say it, by the time Sam and Molly get to the end, they're going to Paris, and so all along the way they've been kind of dropping little breadcrumbs in terms of where we were headed. And so we find, as soon as they get on the plane, we realize this is the plane from the first film. And that makes for a really fun ending, because the minute Sam hears somebody on the plane talking about the reason why these kids got tossed off was because somebody had a vision, immediately it just the light bulb goes off for him, and it's like, oh shh, and it's too late. Plane's already moving on, and we know the rest, right, from the first film. So I guess therein lies the strength of this film. I think is the opening sequence, the final wrap up in the end. Tony Todd throughout is fun, although he could have been given a little bit more. I think the biggest problem, I think the writing was a little, like I said, Courtney B. Vance could have given us a lot more. He's got some real acting chops, and they just were not utilized. And the rest of the characters were, I mean, even Peter, and the interesting sort of where his character goes, I thought, could have been, this film really could have been, it could have really played with some really different ideas on your way to the ending. So I don't know. It was all right. It's entertaining. It's fun. So we'll just leave it at there. Good stuff. And we got the new one to look forward to. So second week in, all week long, 2011. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream. We might be useful to you.